First of all, I extend my heartily good wishes to students coming from different states to Delhi for their career to become IAS, and especially if he offers economics as optional subject, then it is a matter of pride for him and for us also. So I wish my blessings to them to compete in UPSC with 80% marks by his efforts. Today we are discussing Walrus equilibrium, that is in UPSC syllabus at graduation level in almost all universities in India. Marshallian equilibrium is taught, and Walrasian economics is generally taught at postgraduate level. Nowadays there is change in the syllabus, but this is permanent thing for the last 40 years, Marshallian versus Walrasian. In economics, price equilibrium starts from 1890 by Alfred Marshall. Demand minus supply is equal to 0. Therefore, demand is equal to supply. That is equilibrium. This is called partial equilibrium. Partial equilibrium. That is demand and supply. Price, commodity X. E is point of equilibrium because demand is equal to supply. So price equilibrium is generally associated with Marshall. Alfred Marshall in 1890 written a book known as Principle of Economics. In this book, Marshall synthesizes cost theory of pricing and utility theory of pricing into one demand and supply theory of pricing. Before Marshall, economics starts from 1776 from Adam Smith, and then eighteen sixteen David Ricardo, and then Jevons, David Ricardo, cost theory of price. Jevons, utility theory of price. Utility theory, price. Find out Jevons' time, in which year Jevons' utility theory of pricing established. So Marshall, when Marshall has written his book in 1890, there was two popular theory of pricing. One is utility theory of Jevons, Austrian economist. Jevons is Austrian economist, Ricardo is British economist. Jevons is Austrian economist and David Ricardo, British economist. Eighteen 1871. William Stanley Jevons. William Stanley Jevons. Not Austrian, in English. English. Economist. William Jevons, 1871. So, what we find out that 1816, 1871, 1890 and 1889. British economist and Walrasian is French economist. So look here, this is cost theory of price. This is utility theory of price. This is demand and supply theory of price. Utility represented demand, cost represented supply. This is all partial equilibrium. Alfred Marshall. So before discussing Walras, French economist, whose year falls in 1889, and just 1 year after Marshall, and before that Ricardo and Jevons. Ricardo said that higher the cost, higher the price. Lower the cost, lower the price. Therefore, price is determined by cost of production. This was very popular as cost theory of pricing. David Ricardo was British economist, and he has written in a book, Economics of Political Economy and Taxation in 1860. This is first classical theory of pricing. Thereafter, in 1871, another economist named as William Stanley Jevons in 1871 discovered that cost is not the important factor in pricing. Jevons said that cost is not important factor in pricing. We are talking about the classical system of price. Jevons said that the Ricardian theory of cost theory of price determination is not correct. He said that it is utility which is important. And he developed the concept of marginal utility. He said that price is determined by utility. Higher the utility, higher the price, lower the utility, lower the price. That turn into marginal utility is equal to price. Marginal utility is equal to price. On the other hand, 1816, David Ricardo said that cost is the main factor in price determination. Higher the cost, higher the price. Then the concept of marginal was not there. So they put emphasis on cost. But in fact it shifted to marginal cost. Marginal cost is equal to price. What happened? Write down. In Ricardian sense, cost is a main determinant. Then price will be equal to marginal cost. But at that time, marginal concept was not developed. So they said that cost, higher the cost, higher the price, lower the cost, lower the price. That is called cost approach of pricing. That is known as cost approach of pricing. Another is utility approach of pricing. According to William Stanley Jevons in 1871, Jevons said, higher the utility, higher the price, lower the utility, lower the price. Jevons was also belonging to the last phase of classical economist. But we take classical economics period from 1750 to 1850, then he comes neoclassical. 1871, neoclassical. So Jevons said that higher the utility, higher the price, lower the utility, lower the price. Ricardo said higher the cost, higher the price, lower the cost, lower the price. Then there was a very popular paradox, water-diamond paradox. Write down, water-diamond paradox. Water-diamond paradox. Water-diamond paradox. It is said that higher the utility of water, price is lower. Higher the utility of water, price is lower. And there is no utility, but the diamond price is very high. Diamond price is very high. Water-diamond paradox. That water has high utility, low price, and diamond has low utility but very high price. So there is some missing factor in the explanation of price. What we are discussing, that is 1816, David Ricardo, and 1871,
William Stanley Jevons.
William Stanley Jevons. Now in 1890, we are talking about the British economist. 1890, Alfred Marshall published a book, Principles of Economics. In that book, he defined the first line in the book, first page, first line of the book. Marshall said, economics is the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. This became the definition of economics. The first line of that book, written by Alfred Marshall, you check it in the book, in Google, in Kindle, you can see first line. Economics is the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. And Marshall said that price is neither determined by cost, as Ricardo said, nor determined by utility, as William Stanley Jevons said. These factors, cost and utility, play the role behind the curtain. Behind the curtain, cost. Behind the curtain, utility. But front, cost turn into supply. And utility turn into demand. So Marshall emphasized the need for not using the term cost, but to use supply. Not using the term utility, but to use demand. This is called in UPSC syllabus Marshallian approach. Marshallian approach of pricing. Marshall said that instead of telling about cost, you tell about the supply. Cost will work behind the curtain. Higher the cost, lower the supply. Supply of aeroplane is very, very low. Why? Because its price is very high. But the supply of bicycle in the market is very high. Supply of motorbike is very high. Because the price is less. But supply of aircraft is very low. What is the reason? Reason is the cost factor. Cost factor works behind the curtain. Lower the cost, higher the supply. Lower the cost, higher the supply. And higher the cost, lower the supply. This is called cost-supply relationship. Write down, this is, put it like this, cost-supply relationship. Cost-supply relationship. Cost-supply relationship. Cost-supply relationship. Higher the cost, lower the supply. Lower the cost, higher the supply. Other things remaining the same. Marshall says that whenever discuss cost and supply relationship, we will have assumption. What is the assumption? Ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means other things remaining the same. Other things remaining the same. Then Marshall said that don't call utility in pricing. In pricing you take the term demand. What is the relationship between cost and utility and demand? Higher the utility, higher the demand for the commodity. Lower the utility, lower the demand for the commodity. This is the relationship between utility and demand. Write down. Utility-demand relationship. We are discussing Marshallian approach of price system, and then we will shift to Walrasian approach of price system. Walrasian developed pricing system separately in France, and this is developed in Britain, British English. So, relationship between utility and demand. Higher the utility, higher the demand, lower the utility, lower the demand, other things remaining the same. Higher the utility, higher the demand, lower the utility, lower the demand, other things remaining the same, other things remaining the constant. This is Greek word ceteris paribus. According to Marshall, equilibrium price in commodity market is determined at a point where there is equilibrium, where there is equality between demand for good commodity and supply of commodity. He said that instead of talking about cost and utility, we should talk about demand and supply approach. So what Marshall did, Alfred Marshall synthesized cost and demand into one. Synthesized cost and demand, cost and utility into one. That is synthesized demand for commodity and supply of commodity into one. This synthesis is done by Marshall. Therefore, Marshall is known as synthesizer. Marshall is known as synthesizer. In price theory, Marshall is very popular as a synthesizer. He played the role of synthesizer. He synthesized two conflicting principles: law of cost and law of utility. Price. Cost theory of pricing and utility theory of pricing. These two theories were conflicting theory. And water diamond paradox was there, that higher the utility of water and there is lower price, no price, and lower the utility of diamond but there is very high price. How do you explain this paradox? So what Marshall did, Marshall synthesized cost theory of price and cost theory of price with the utility theory of price. In other words, Marshall converted cost theory into supply price relationship, utility theory to utility demand relationship, and then he developed demand and supply approach of price determination under perfect competition. Marshall said that in the real world in which we live, he considered that perfect competition is ideal form of market. Perfect competition is ideal form of market because it has 6 characteristics. Number 1, large number of buyers and sellers. Number 2, perfect knowledge of market conditions to all buyers and sellers. Number 3, homogeneous production. Number 4, free entry and free exit of the firm. Number 5, there is no transportation cost included in the cost of production. Number 6, there is free, perfect mobility of factors of production in the market. So these 6 characteristics necessary for demand and supply theory of pricing. And Marshall said that in the economy, when there is intersection when there is intersection intersection between demand curve and supply curve, there will be equilibrium price OP. OP is known as equilibrium price under Marshallian approach. And OM is equilibrium demand under Marshallian approach. This is called partial price equilibrium analysis. Write down. This is called partial partial equilibrium. Partial equilibrium. Marshallian. Marshallian partial equilibrium. Marshallian partial equilibrium is obtained where there is intersection between demand and supply. And equilibrium price is OP. If price is OP1, that will not stand operating in the economy. Why? Because demand is less than supply. That is, excess supply pressure will pull down price. Excess supply pressure will pull down the price. So price will shift from P1 to P, P1 to P. And P0 is also not a stable price, because at P0 price will go up because of excess demand pressure. Excess demand pressure will pull up price. So pull down and pull up will be automatic. It is automatic adjustment between demand and supply, and this is known as partial equilibrium analysis of price. Marshall said that when we decide the price of tea, all other prices, all other things are kept to be constant. Alright? Marshall has divided the market into, perfect commercial market into market period, normal period and secular period. That we had also seen in previous class, that market period. Market period. Number 2, normal period. Number 3, secular period. This is 3 types of time element. 3 types of time element in Marshallian analysis. Marshallian analysis, 3 types of time element. Market period is very, very short period market. Normal period has both short period and long period. And secular period is very, very long period. In real life, we live in market period. So Marshall says that in his case, Marshall says that normal period is, normal price is average price. This is called market price. This is called normal price. Normal price. And this is called market price. Market price, this is time element. And this is price. Market price oscillates. Market price oscillates around normal price. Market price oscillates around normal price. There is always fluctuations in market price because of fluctuations in demand. And supply line is constant. As we know that Marshall believed in comparative static methodology. Marshall discussed partial equilibrium analysis under comparative static methodology. This is called Marshallian approach. Marshallian approach of price determination. Now we switch to Walrus. Walrus is general equilibrium analysis, and that was established 1 year before. 1 year before, in 1889, before Marshall. But as Marshall was in Britain and he in France, French economist, they have their own credibility. French Empire, British Empire, German Empire, all had empire. And India was slave, under which British and also French. Pondicherry was under French Empire and Goa was under Portuguese Empire. So in 1889, Leon Walras, French economist, developed general equilibrium analysis. Marshall compared a market. Marshall compared a market like a water lake. Lake water. There is a lake in which water is there. Suppose there is a pressure of wind, pressure of agitated by wind. Market is like a lake agitated by the wind, where the water is necessarily seeking its level without ever reaching it. Then there will be up and down. They will try to stabilize, but because of the agitated wind, it will always go up and down. So this very important thing pointed out by Walras.